Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
Doing all right, Ryan. How are you doing, Ryan?
Thank you, Bartek, for the, again, furthering of my name.
Your name's the less rememberable one, so...
The less memorable one?
I said rememberable, which isn't much better because it's also not really a word, is it? I should have
Revengeance.
I should have said memorable.
I am doing good. And not only good, well, in fact. But how are you doing overall? Are you happy? Happy camper?
Yeah, happy camper. How are you doing overall? Ryan.
My overalls are clean. I haven't used them in a while, so they're nice and clean, those overalls.
Mm-hmm.
They're ready and waiting for when I need them, but I don't need them for when I'm podcasting, which is what I'm doing right now with you.
Yeah, not a weekend recording. This is special for us.
This is a special recording. This is a very special recording of our show Pictures Powwow because we are meeting up on a night of a weekday. We've got busy things happening on the weekend, but we don't want to let people down.
It's Friday, 5:55, almost evening.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. And,
Wait, 55, 35.
And wow, you're skipping ahead.
Yeah, and I have to say Ryan a third time.
And
Ryan,
my PIN number is... Just keep giving them more information.
Don't tell them about 2357.
No! No, in all seriousness, though, which is what I say when I want to transition to a new talking point.
Got to stop being silly when you say
We've got to
that.
be serious now. Serious Sam is my name because I am here on Spit and Polish to talk about, with you, a movie that has come recommended from someone. So that someone can be one of us, the hosts, or you, the listening people out there. And that's what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We have a listening people's suggestion. A friend of mine, Nick... I go to the movies with him sometimes. He listens to the podcast, and he said to me, "Oh, I have a recommendation." And I raised my eyebrow. I'm like, "Oh, Nick's a real film guy." You know, he chooses in his own personal time. He's like, "Oh yes, I watched this." And this is not a joke. I'm not joking when I say this. The other week I talked to him, and he's like, "Oh yes, I watched this experimental film where it was pretty out there. It was just lots of landscape shots of whales." No dialogue, but I understood what they were saying, and I'm like, okay. That's what the kind of film fan we've got here. And they recommended the film that's in the title of this episode. They recommended Lupin III.
So
Castle of Cagliostro.
I thought you were describing how he recommended this film.
He actually recommended this film by saying to me, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Look, I watched this silent art house movie about whales," which made me think about Lupin III, Castle of Cagliostro. No. He actually did, though, recommend this movie, and he said to me he finds it a very fascinating film and thinks it's one worthy of discussion. Miyazaki, of course, involved in this. This is a very important film in his filmography, the first of his feature films. He transitioned from television to cinema, and now we know the scale of everything that he's done in the entertainment world and the art world. And this film is... just got so many layers to it, so many ways that you can pull at the threads of discussion. And that's what Nick said. He said, there's so much that you could talk about, the animation, the background of it, all of this, the Miyazaki of it all, the voice actors, the show. And I thought that was a fair point. I was like, okay, I'm going to add this to the list. And it's also an older movie, which we're really keen on doing for this year. I can't remember if we've done very many animated movies this year. And if we've delved into some older animation. But it seems right to do that before the end of the year has come. So everyone, please make sure to check out this film for yourself. Lupin III, the Castle of Cagliostro.
I think the G is silent.
Is it silent?
Yeah, in the opening, in the title drop of it, when it's in Japanese, I could actually read the Cagliostro part, and they didn't have a G character there.
Okay.
It's like Cagliostro or something.
Okay. But it's also that's the Japanese people saying a non-Japanese word, I guess?
Word. I mean, it sounds like a last name. So
yeah, it's a place. Last name / place, but that's in Europe. I think it's supposed to be Italy.
This was a period where
because of the Roman ruins. Oh, spoiler! People, make sure to watch this film for yourself. Now you know there's Roman ruins in there. How are you going to watch the movie now?
Yeah, it's going to ruin everything.
and the Romans are going to be there. So everyone, make sure to watch this. It's a fun time. It's about just a couple of fun-loving crims hitting it big, and they meet some despicable characters who need to be taken down a peg, and a damsel in distress. What else can you want? There you go. But Bartek, how about you tell us all your history with this movie? This is an anime. This is an animation. Sorry, if Miyazaki heard me call this an anime, I think he'd be disgusted by that.
No, he knows it's an anime. He just thinks it was a mistake.
But how about you tell us about your experiences with this?
Sure. So I've seen this film once before. A couple of years ago, I tried getting into the Lupin III franchise, and I was watching it from the beginning onwards. I checked out the films as they came out, because this is the second Lupin film. So as I was watching the second anime, which is the long 155 episode anime that took place that was made over the course of like the last couple of years of the 70s, I would watch the films when their release dates matched the release dates of the episodes.
Were the films also theatrically released? Was the first one, or was it just this one? Do you know?
I can't remember. I would assume so, but I won't. Okay. Don't quote me on that. The first one's called Mystery of Mamo or Secret of Mamo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I checked those out, and this one was quite a standout because it felt a lot different from the show, but also it felt familiar in the sense that it was a Miyazaki film. I've seen one or two of those at that point.
You had already seen some Miyazaki before this?
I'd seen Ponyo forever ago, and I think I'd already seen Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind.
Okay, which is after this, of course.
Yeah, so I think I'd seen those two, and also the art style is just, kind of recognizable. It really looked like a, Miyazaki, Ghibli kind of film. And yeah, it was a really good film. I could see it also being, if you were a really big Lupin fan, you might be a bit thrown off by how different it was. I remember the first time I watched it, because I think I'd started watching Lupin and you told me about Castle of Cagliostro. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard the name before, and I didn't know it was a Lupin thing. So I looked up like, oh, it's Lupin's that thing I'm currently watching. Whoa, that's a big surprise. And then when I eventually did watch it and I was telling you about it, I'm like, yeah, some of the characters were quite different. Like there's a scene in this film where Lupin's in the tower with the princess and he's like very charming, stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I've never seen Lupin be so charming before.
He's usually a mess.
Yeah, he's a lot like when he's talking to the waitress earlier in the film, a bit of a horn dog.
He's much more manic, is how I would describe.
Yeah.
I watched this movie a few years ago for the first time as well, back in the day. I'm not too sure if it's still the case now, but all of the Miyazaki/Ghibli films were put onto Netflix. I had seen a good portion of Ghibli films. I like animation. I like animated movies. And we've had this discussion a couple of times on the podcast, but you watch more anime shows and I have watched a bit more films over the years. I think it's maybe evening out as time marches on. But, we have that dynamic here where you will look at some anime or Japanese animation tropes and character stuff from like a TV point of view, and then I look at them from a film point of view of like, here's what I notice as film trends.
Quite a lot of
this, and you look at that from show trends.
A lot of overlap with games as well, because I play a lot of Japanese games.
Yes, you do. But I watched this when it came out on Netflix. I had not seen it before. I didn't know how much of it was going to be impenetrable because Lupin III is a huge franchise. I knew of it, but I also was confused because I knew that, and this is also a thing, Lupin III is not just a Japanese thing. It's from another source material that they just took. And they just said, who cares? We don't have trademark stuff. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. So if England has Sherlock Holmes, then France has the Phantom Thief Arsène Lupin.
Yes.
And the premise of this franchise, and it's quite a silly one, is, this is about his half-Japanese grandson, who is the third in the line of the Arsène Lupin name.
Which they even mention in this film.
Yeah.
And I knew that. I knew of him. I knew of that stuff. I knew of the French one, I think, a little bit more than this show. So then I was apprehensive of am I mixing this up? Am I not right? Isn't Lupin the Third a big French thing? But then it's but it's also a big anime.
Yeah.
I'm am I right? I'm right on both. Like, it is a big French thing, but it's also a big anime thing. And so, oh boy, it's a whole can of worms. But I didn't know how much of the movie was going to be a bit of a hassle. But I just pulled the trigger. I had to see it because it's Miyazaki's first film.
Hmm.
He worked on the show beforehand. He did a couple of episodes afterwards as well, right? After this film.
Uh, I think they came out after this film. I don't know about the production order though.
But he handled most of the first parts of Lupin, right?
Oh yeah,
and
the majority.
Other writer of this film,
Isao Takahara or Hata, I can't remember.
But yeah, they handled the things, and then they've done this movie. And I was reading up like the bit of contention of like Miyazaki wanted this movie to be the cap off, but then he also wanted that other episode to be the cap off. I was like, which one do you want to be the swan song? Which one is it? I can't tell you since I've not really watched the show. Bartek lent me those 2 Miyazaki episodes from the second part. I watched one of them, and it was very different. They're much hairier in the show than they are in this film. Like their hands and their legs and chest, there's lots of like little sparses of hair. Lupin's
a hairy guy. He's meant to be like a monkey. There's one part in this film where he's doing something and you get like a shot of his like the other side of the palm or the front part of the hand, and like you can see like bits of dots of like hair there. I'm like, oh, that's reminding me of the show.
In the show, it's always there, basically. But so I watched it years ago, and I enjoyed it, but I remembered I had problems with it. Not too sure if those problems were because of, if I knew the show, then I could forgive this, but a lot of it was structural problems of, this kind of just stops happening, or this character is introduced, but then they don't really do anything, and I was expecting more of this, and then we got less of that, and so I always had like a bit of a bugbear with the movie because I thought it was a really fun group of characters, fun concept, but it just didn't come together for me. So I was like, I guess it's Miyazaki's first movie, so there's going to be some of that shaggy element to it. And I guess it's one of his more direct plot-driven films because some of his films are more mood-based or just the plot is we got to go from here to there and magical things will happen along the way. And this film is a lot more like plot front. Like the front element is here's the plot. The characters aid that, of course, but like it is very much like here's what we got to do. Now we do that.
Yeah, there's a big element of like, Lupin's past. You know, there's a connection from this plot to that.
And there's a ticking clock element, which then becomes literal at the very end. So there you go. But how did you feel about this film overall? Did you love it the first time you saw it? And how do you feel about it now?
Yeah, I still liked it very much. It was great both times. Maybe even a little bit more this time round. It was a lot of fun. I remember I didn't have too many issues with it the first time round. If anything, I think, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, the Fujiko character is a little bit, she's quite different to how she was in the show, because I was also, coming in with the show context. It very much felt weird that she had such a big action-y role in this film, like very casually using a submachine gun, throwing grenades and stuff like that. I remember thinking...
It's very funny because the episode that I watched, it literally opens up with her with a submachine gun throwing grenades.
Miyazaki seems to really like using her in action-y roles, it seems.
Or getting her tits out in the show, not in the movie. So.
Yeah, well, she's like pantsless throughout all that episode.
Yeah, and shirtless for a good portion of it too.
And I remember when thinking back on the film over these years, I'm like, oh yeah, she was just kind of there. But then watching it again, like she is quite involved in the plot when her guise is revealed. So that issue became like a non-issue for me now. Yeah. No, if anything, I do think I appreciated it a bit more.
I appreciated seeing what has changed and what hasn't when it comes to this filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a lot of the same problems with the movie. Here's my big thing. We start off the movie and we're following these 2 rogues, these 2, bandits, these 2 thieves, and they're just having a good back and forth, and you understand their dynamic. Just it's even down to just visually how they look. You put them side by side, and you can see why this works.
There's such a history to them, like when they do the rock paper scissors, like wordlessly,
or when they in their disguises, and then when they drive past the security thing, how they're undoing their disguises, and one of them's like deflating their belly, and the other one's like ripping off their beard.
It's just like second nature.
It's routine. And they're very engaging characters. It's such a fun dynamic. I love those two together. And then the movie said, how about one of them does stuff and the other one just sits with a samurai character who I don't even know why they're in this movie. I know why, because they're from the show, but they don't do anything in this movie of major note. Like, to me, as a viewer, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, these two characters are just going to sit here, and they don't have much of a dynamic. Lupin has a dynamic with the samurai. Lupin has a dynamic with his right-hand man. But, like, those two together don't really have much to offer me.
It was very funny, because I noticed that as well. It was very funny how, during one of the earlier parts of the scheme, they were waiting for their cue, and then something went wrong, so it's like, oh, we don't get to do anything in this part of the film.
We just sit out.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot, not with just them, but, like, even, other characters, even the Count. Like, there's lots of moments where I could feel this character and plot has a timeout because we've got to do other things, and it just was so apparent to me. And then you read the trivia to this movie, and Miyazaki feels the same. Like, Miyazaki does not like this movie very much, and he had to cobble things together, and he had an original script in mind, but then had to throw it out because of time constraints.
I read that he wanted another month or something.
And he had to work things in post, and he hasn't revealed, like, what his original script version was, and he never will, apparently, because he's so bitter about this experience, and it made him, like, not want to engage with Lupin ever again, and he hasn't, and it's just like, oh, man. And I didn't necessarily sense that level of drama, but I could sense another thing which I read, which was, this is an adaptation of this little thing and this little thing and this little thing. I'm like, yeah, I could see how these are kind of stitched together. Like, I want this movie to be more of like, here's a movie length story, but it does feel like we've grabbed some hodgepodge bits of like this manga or this part of the show or this, and it's kind of just woven together. And it's not as if it's so haphazardly done, but there is an element of, I prefer some bits over others. Like, I preferred when they were a team driving their car that's slowly falling apart, more so than Lupin teamed up with the cop and they're doing like actual proper swashbuckling hero stuff that's competent and not at all silly to me. Like, there was some silliness with them too, but like, once they actually trapped those guys in the water and just started setting things on fire, I'm like, oh, this is supremely competent and it's working out really well.
Yeah, well, that they don't have as close of a, trickstery dynamic. So it's like, okay, well, you're a capable guy. Let's just do capable things.
Yeah. So I do still have some problems, but again, I really like this. I thought this was very fun. Lupin is a very fun character. He does feel like a monkey man. He's got a lot of facets to him as well. I love the bit where they pretend to be ghosts to stop the wedding, and that it works for so many people. It's so dumb, but I applauded it. I was like, this is marvelous stuff. But yeah, it felt like just a lot of bits. Like, here's a fun bit that we could do with them. Here's a fun bit. And you can't beat it. I don't know if you disagree, but the woman that they're saving, the person that they're doing this all for, just not a very interesting character. Just damsel.
You really nail it with, calling it a damsel. It is just someone that they are trying to save.
It's a bummer because, Miyazaki, I mean, I guess it's not a bummer in the sense of, like, Miyazaki will do better with this type of thing in the future. Like, did you look up that actress who did the...
Oh, yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Nazca. She's been in a couple of other things.
My Neighbor Totoro, yeah.
A number of Ghibli things.
Yes, I was reading up on her, very interesting. She auditioned for something else Miyazaki worked on. Didn't get it, but he really liked her and said, oh, I'm going to use you in the future. And he's used her many times. And I think that's just such a sweet thing. And I love when you hear stories of the industry like that, where it's just like, They didn't get that audition for this. Like, they nailed the audition, but they didn't get the part. But I'm going to remember them for future endeavors. And then you see, like,
Yeah, the
they become
follow-through.
like a muse in a way, and they just keep being used often in their work. So I really appreciated that. But tell me a bit more about your experiences with movies. What leapt out for you? What were things that worked?
I really liked how the beginning and ending of the film, like literally how we begin and how we end the film, kind of frame it in a way that makes it seem like, oh, just another day in the life of, this little group.
Mm-hmm.
Where, we start the film and they're immediately like in the middle of a bank heist. And then at the end of the film, you've just gone through this entire film. All of this plot stuff, all of this like heavy emotional stuff has happened. Characters are saying bye, and now the police are chasing us, and we just have this shot of them, driving away, giggling while the police are, oh, we're gonna get you. And it just feels like, yep, all of that plot stuff's done. We're back to how we usually are.
It really has a sensation of a newspaper comic strip.
How
they have that ongoing, forever ongoing, it never ends type deal, more so than like, oh, it feels like a manga or it feels like a comic book. This feels like a newspaper strip comic.
This doesn't feel like, oh, this arc that established this stuff that's going to be paid off when they finally catch him or something.
I like that too. I like that Lupin isn't a person. He's like a creature. Like, he's like an animal who just has this instinct to just chase after the next thing and chase after the next thing. And so do all of these people that surround him, that like exist in this world. Like, they live for this. They live for the thrill. They live for the next high. They live for the next chase. And then also there's a samurai.
Yeah.
Who's there? I don't know what his deal is. Even when I watched the episode, I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah,
it feels like there's a specific deal with him that I just haven't got context for.
He's kind of an odd one. He's the odd one, I would say. In the first show, they actually like establish him. Like, they actually meet him for the first time. He's kind of like an adversary. Then the second episode, he's an adversary again, but then he befriends them. But even after that, especially once Miyazaki takes over that first show, he's used very sparingly. He's just not in like most of the episodes. But then with the second show, like, he's in it all the time, and there's a lot more of a trio dynamic that's very present in that show. Yeah, but in terms of like their history together, like he's definitely the new guy of the bunch.
He's also Japanese.
Yeah, he's a descendant of Goemon Ishikawa from Sengoku period.
And in this movie and in the episode I watched, it is a big deal. Like, he's Japanese, so there's like a different culture that he brings to their group.
Well, most of them are Japanese, but
yeah, but like, he's like, their whole thing is like, he's supremely, while they're like, we're like travelers.
He's from another time, Japanese.
Yes, and then there's the cop. But what I say is, with our main two, their whole thing is like, we are travelers. We just drive around. We go from place to place. Like, the whole like being Japanese in this movie and in the episode I watched isn't like a defining character trait for them, but for the cop and for our samurai, it is. And there's like clash of cultures for both of those sets. Like, obviously there's a clash of law and order for the cop and our Crims, but also with the samurai and our Crims, it's just like,
he gets the traditional Japanese music. He
eats raw food.
He's got the Bushido stuff. He's got like his catchphrase of like, I've cut another worse listening. Yeah, it's very present. Yeah, in the first show, it's all set in Japan, but in the second one, they're in like a different country every episode. And the big sin is they only go to Australia once.
Do they meet kangaroos?
Think so. Also, Uluru is in a grassy area.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
It's an alternative world.
I remember one of the first shots of that episode is there's a map of Australia. The states are divided wrong, and the only two places that are marked are Sydney and Darwin. So that tells you which locations are important for the plot of the episode.
Oh, thank you. Back with this film, I absolutely loved that car chase sequence where they're trying to save the bride.
Yeah.
And just how everything starts to fall apart, and like when they both separate off, like, I'm gonna go in the car and help her because she's fainted, and you drive, and they just both eat shit. Like, both of them crash the cars, and they just completely fall apart. And it's just like this Rube Goldberg machine of gears keeping them going. It's so
It makes
silly.
it feel like the car is only made up of like 5 parts and they just keep falling off. I love how cozy they make the car because, you think of a car in real life and, you got to open the door, sit down, put on your seatbelt and you're locked in place, and there are all these safety measures. But here, it's like they can just like freely lounge around, stand up over the top, like chill on the back, like freely walk around the car almost.
There's like a bouncy jelly bean like quality to the cars themselves. They don't feel like metal, they feel gummy almost.
Yeah.
And I wanted to comment on that. So one of the things that's very notable is how different visually this is from other Ghibli/Miyazaki works because it is doing that specific art style that this franchise is. But you do see the Miyazaki stuff there, like how certain characters' faces are drawn. But what really leapt out to me is vehicles. The cars in this move and operate and live in the same plane of weirdness as other Miyazaki films like Ponyo. The mother in Ponyo drives her little car super fast and it moves in it's almost identical. Even though this is much more overtly cartoonish, I've noticed that a lot of like his vehicles, whether they're boats or planes or cars, there's a certain type of motion and aesthetic to them that he's kept from the beginning all the way through. And I just think that's such just looking at like the oeuvre of a filmmaker, just that being a consistent thing, it's something that I don't know how many people notice, but it leapt out to me on this watch through because the car chase stuff was so amazing. But I've also recently rewatched a couple of Miyazaki's, and it's like, oh yeah, vehicles are very important in his films.
I remember reading that he's got a big thing for planes, especially.
Yeah.
And I remember that the Lupin episode you did watch is about like a giant plane, isn't it?
Yeah, he has what's that movie, Wind Rises, where it's about that Japanese man who's like a maker of certain planes in war and whatnot. So it's all about, yes, he's very much about planes.
Castle in the Sky has some flying stuff.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But yeah, I was looking at this and I was like, so much of this is different to what I'm used to with this, but also it's the little things that are the same that stood out to me more so. Like, if I do wonder if you showed this to someone and you didn't tell them it was a Miyazaki film, would they know? Would they figure it out as quickly? If they knew Ghibli stuff and they just watched it, would they figure it out, or would just the overt different character styles because it's a Lupin thing throw people for a loop? I wonder.
They might. It's got such a distinct visual style. Like you said, the vehicles.
The color palette's different, though. This is very much a 70s movie. Just the color palette of it, like, there's something about 70s animation. I recently watched Gundam for the first time, the original Mobile Suit Gundam, and there's other animation from this period in the 70s or late 70s, whether Western or Japanese, where they have bright colors, but there's like a desaturated quality to it at the same time. Like the green of his jacket, when you say, oh, our main character wears like a bright green jacket, you have a certain image in your mind of what that looks like. No, imagine it's desaturated a couple of layers, but also it's not as if this film isn't bright and colorful, but there's a certain lack of vibrance that you compare to the 80s and onwards with this. With the 70s, there's something about the color palette of animation that makes you know it's the 1970s production.
Yeah, and even some of the character designs. Like, they have very different, like, eye designs and 70s stuff. You got a lot of close-up stuff of that in the show and even in Gundam, like you were saying.
Of course, and also the classic thing of like characters not having eyes because they have a hat or they have hair or something. It makes me think of stuff like Tintin, which I know was a little bit earlier, but like there's some of that.
You get a lot of that with Jigen, yeah.
I was thinking of Tintin a lot while watching this as well. Tintin has a lot of like adventuring around the place, but obviously different characters, and different art style. But some of it reminded me of it, and then you read the trivia, and then there's like Steven Spielberg was allegedly inspired when he did his Tintin movie by this movie. I'm like, oh, yeah, probably.
I mean, this film seems to have inspired a lot of things. Like the guy that made Pixar.
John Lasseter.
Yeah, I remember there was trivia talking about how...
Film.
Yeah, how he used a clip from this film. I think it was Lupin running on the rooftops to woo his wife. Like, hey, lady, check out what I have here.
Yes, that's very cute.
From when I went to Japan.
When are you going to woo a lady with a clip from an anime you like?
Hey, lady, check out this...
Urotsuki Doji, Legend of the Demon Womb.
It's from the, I think, 90s.
And then you look her in the eye and say, it's not hentai. And then she sees the tentacle scene and you look at her and say in a very deep voice, it's not hentai.
Do you see a hen wearing a tie?
All right. So what else about this film was drawing you in or anything of note?
I think a consistent thing between the show and this is that I really love Zenigata. He's pretty great in this film. He's very sternly introduced. He's very goofy in the show, which you were telling me you watched the episode. And it's like, oh yeah, a lot more goofy there. And
he dressed up as the woman to fool Lupin into saving the woman so that he could then take off the face and reveal it's him and put handcuff not around Lupin's hands, but around his neck because his neck's so thin.
Yep, that's the show. Yeah, I remember similar to the Fujiko thing I was saying before, like I remembered the Stern stuff a bit more in retrospective and thought like, oh, you didn't really get much goofy stuff there. But no, that is still in the movie as well. Especially when, Lupin fools the guards into thinking that he's the Lupin in disguise as Zenigata, and when he has to act surprised when he finds the counterfeiting operation deep in the castle, and even the corrupt Interpol people who are emasculating him earlier now being like, oh fuck, he's really got us.
And he goes full ham when they use skeletons to fool the evil assassins. He really joins in on the silliness of that, because at the beginning of that sequence, he even gives like a little prayer of mourning for these dead people, but then a second later he's like beating people over the head with a skull. It's just so awesome. Like that was so great.
That was a fun little, not so different you and I moment where Lupin was doing the prayer before, then he tells him like, hey, read that message there, and then without prompting he does the prayer.
No, it was very good.
Yeah, you don't get that a lot in the show, but when they do have to team up in some way, it's always a lot of fun.
It's the type of thing where you have to make it sparse. You can't do it too often or else it isn't special. Like,
this won't shock you. There's an episode where they're, like, chained together and they have to work together.
Oh, wow. Real Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis thing,
yeah.
Oh, I love that. I loved him. I thought he was great. I like his introduction as the super stern, serious cop who, as you reveal over the course of time, he's actually a flustered dumbass. I think that is so great because he's paired up with the villain a lot of the time. Like, he's like the person that the villain is talking to a lot.
Yeah, Lupin is trying to steal from this guy who's a bad guy, but because he's, going to be the victim of a theft, the police have to work with him.
And what I like is our cop, he has to be the stern, serious one, but then when you pair him with the villain, you actually see who is the real stern, serious character. And that he is playing up trying to be that because he wants to come across as competent, that he wants to come across as professional, but even in his conversations with this villain, he overdoes it, which indicates that he's not actually good at it, which I thought was a neat and subtle way. And then you crank it up over the course of the movie, and especially as he engages with Lupin, you see him lose that facade, and he just becomes a manic bumbling idiot, and I absolutely adored it. I was like, this is what I want. This is awesome. And he's just constantly saying, I'm from Interpol. It's like a reassurance of power. It's like, I'm from Interpol. And then the movie becomes Pat Labor 2 for some weird reason, where they're like, here's a scene where all of your higher-ups and the politics of the job says being a cop doesn't change anything, motherfucker. Who gives a shit?
He's too powerful.
He Do you remember that scene in Pat Labor 2 where like the chief and the detective guy, they like get called in by the higher ups and they have all this evidence and like she is just resigned. She's him in this. And then there's the other detective guy where he like loses his cool and goes all hothead mode and he's like, you can't do this.
Yeah, because they had the same thing in the first Pat Labor, but they were able to talk around it, but in the second one it didn't work.
It was like that in this, but he just was so resigned and he walked out and he's like, well,
his men are like, we're ready to move out anytime, sir.
And he's just so disheartened. I don't know how show fans feel about that, but I think like if you're doing a movie, you have to escalate things to a certain degree. So like dramatically speaking, what does it look like if this cop character who's defined by law and order, as well as like, I got to get Lupin because he's humiliated me. What does he look like when he's seen that the system he's trying to uphold doesn't work? Because people are petty and don't give a fuck. What does he look like when that happens? And I think conceptually, that's a fascinating idea, and that's something that you use in a movie.
I love there was a juxtaposition they did with him that I really loved. It was there's like a party happening at the castle, and like, you know, all these fancy people are inside at the ball having a big feast, and then it cuts outside. You know, you can hear the music in the distance, kind of, you know, muffled because it's far away. Pans down and all of the cops are like eating, you know, instant noodles out of a cup. It's like, oh yes, you know, they're eating like the more simple food, but also like a Japanese creation, like instant noodles from a cup. So it's like they not only have like a different like, you know, class thing going on here, but also cultural thing.
Use of food is always key to a Miyazaki thing. It's a trademark. A character sustains themselves and replenishes their health bar by eating a huge amount of food. And it is, isn't it? No, see, to be real, Lupin is where he really gets his, he gets his start. You know, he works on this show. He's trusted enough to get this movie. It seems like the movie was a bit of a hassle. Like another person worked on it and said, I don't give a fuck about it. Could you do it? He does it. But something as, silly as the classic like children's idea of like just eat a bunch of food and now I'm healthy again. That's in like so many of his movies, including the more dramatic, serious stuff. But that doesn't go away. Like that's not one that's just like, all right, I'm no longer in Lupin mode. I don't have to do that kiddie stuff. No, he keeps that.
Yeah. I remember even in that episode that you watched, like there's a whole scene where they're like eating this very fancy meal inside this little house.
Yeah, and they open that episode with them eating food, and it's disgusting that the samurai's eating it raw. It's like, ugh. And he's like, he is Japanese. And it's like just jabbing him for being Japanese. But no, I really like the communication. Visually speaking, so much of this movie is sparse with dialogue. Like a lot of the best sequences in my mind is just visuals, like the way that characters run to such a ludicrous degree where it's almost like they're floating from spot to spot, almost like they're doing ballerina like dance
the pirouettes,
pirouettes to get out of situations. Or, and again, spoilers, people, how the villain is taken care of. It's very unceremonious, but it's also very quiet, and it's very brutal because of that.
Quiet, but has a distinct sound effect that tells you, oh, that's him dying.
Yeah, but it's also just very, that's it. And it's not like a gruesome noise. It's just a little, that's it.
Very pop.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also, there's something about it that's very off-putting because the film doesn't care about him. Like the film's like, he's done. Like, we're going to shoot this from far away. Here's this little sound, like what an inconsequential bug he was.
Yeah, his impatience led to his, death, to his demise. The film has a lot of, I guess, high up architectural stuff, like a lot of rooftop running and like climbing of the castle walls. Even the villain just then climbing up the clock to get up to the thing that's near the one.
Yes. Yeah, because Miyazaki loves that. He loves architecture.
Oh, yeah. Oh, if you want to watch a high up movie, check out Castle in the Sky. There is a castle in the sky. But yeah, there was a lot of fun stuff. I remember there was it when Lupin was climbing up to the North Tower where he was trying to do like a thing with a rocket, but he dropped it and he tried to pick it up, and he unfortunately was going down and he was forced to run, had to jump onto the next rooftop, jump again, and the music would swell up. It almost felt like I was playing a rhythm game, like Rhythm Thief.
It felt very Looney Tunes as well.
Yeah, and it just all complemented each other so well. The sound and the visuals, what we were seeing. He goes high, the thing goes.
He doesn't have the anger or the frustration, but Lupin reminds me of Daffy Duck a lot because of just the way he engages with situations. Like it's that the Looney Tunes thing of, if I'm falling, I may as well grab out an umbrella as I do it. If I'm falling, I may as well do the swimming motion so that I can get there faster. And so many moments like that is littered throughout this. And I think that's what makes Lupin stand out from other films in his filmography, because that type of animation, that type of logic is less present. And he leans much more into fantasy. This isn't a fantasy movie. This is just a crime caper movie with cartoon fantasia on top of it because it's a cartoon. But his other films are much more slow, contemplative, and outright supernatural at points. Not all of them, but a good portion of them deal with that in some way. And it is kind of interesting to go back to this, and it's like, oh, this is just like a little crime caper genre film. He doesn't really do stuff like this ever. So is he capable of doing something like this? And on a serious level, when the stuff's popping off, when plans are in motion and characters are getting foiled and people are shooting guns and running, and all of the crime caper heist stuff is compelling. It is genuinely compelling and gripping, and they know perfectly when to alleviate it with the comedy. I never felt like the comedy was out of place. I know sometimes when we watch a Japanese movie or show, the comedy can be, especially in anime, can be a little bit tone deaf for our tastes, or come out of left field, or have some jokes that are like, oh God, you're doing this. I felt like the comedy in this was pretty universal and stood with the peers of comedic affair from the West as well as from Japan. I thought this was just one of those where I completely get why Lupin is something that could be enjoyed by many different cultures. You could turn the dialogue off and just look at this and see the farce.
Yeah, no, for especially Lupin the character, the comedy is part of his arsenal of how he gets things done. You want to capture me? Well, I've got a little smoke bomb that's gonna make things go a bit crazy. I've already got a line connected to the ceiling that'll just get me right up there. And even you brought it up before, but when he was doing the undead thing, where it's oh, we are the undead that are down in the crypt and we've come for our revenge, and the guards are well, we're just gonna stab you with a sword, and it's oh, villain thinks well, we just killed Lupin, we win. But no, that was a dummy Lupin, and also it's going to explode into confetti now. And while everyone's distracted by the confetti, that's when Lupin was actually the Archbishop all along, so he's going to run away with the girl.
And I like that so much of it's set up from before, as you mentioned. The crypt was already set up. He used the dummies with the skeletons in the crypt, so now he's using that trick again, but we, the audience, don't get to see him make these plans. We just get to see them executed. So we get fooled along with the villainous characters. And so when he did it the second time, I was genuinely surprised because I'm oh, he did it again. He did it again, but it worked. And the only character who knew that happened the first time round was the cop, really, because all the other ones got dispatched for the most part. Yeah, so it's oh, okay.
But it's also a prod at the villain. Hey, you know about your crypt, so I'm going to reference it to you to make you a bit more nervous. Meanwhile, all the while, I mentioned Lupin was the Archbishop in this scene. He has to be that Archbishop for quite a long time.
Yes.
So it's a long con.
And you already had the religious prayer stuff already set in the movie before with the crypt scene, so we know Lupin can already kind of handle the religious stuff to some degree, so I like that. That's neat.
I might be wrong. I think that first stuff was more Buddhist than Christian, but yeah.
He did the little cross, the bishop.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
When he got out of the,
Yeah, I meant in the crypt.
Oh, in the crypt, yes.
It sounded like they were saying a Buddhist thing, but I might be wrong.
But, yeah, it is weird where I have to remember, Lupin's half Japanese, but is he also French?
I think he's meant to be half French, yeah.
It's
It's not much of a thing.
but it also is, because there's the other Lupin thing that exists, so my brain can't help but like merge them together, because it's like
Maurice
here's
LeBlanc.
iconic Lupin and there's other iconic Lupin.
Yeah, his grandson. The half Japanese guy that hangs out with a gunslinger and a samurai and gets horny about a girl that keeps betraying him.
Oh, I loved how poorly handled each time the movie was with catching the audience up on show stuff. Like when she pulls off her mask and like her hair or whatever, and she's like explaining who she is. She's like, Lupin and I are often, romantically paired, but sometimes we're enemies. And it just felt like Neil Breen talking to me about like how he's a hacker for the guy. Like it was such overt, gotta catch people up exposition, because there are people like me, Ryan, who hasn't watched the show, so we have to justify to the audience that this will all work out. And there was pretty much 9 times out of 10 when they had to like catch me up from the show, it was so poorly done that I found it charming. Like it's not it's a negative, but it's one of those negatives where I don't want them to change it. Honestly, I found it endearing and charming each time they did it.
With the Fujiko one, I couldn't tell if it was just well done exposition or if it was just like, here's the first paragraph of my article.
No, it was poor exposition. The good part of the exposition was, oh, so he stood you up? No, actually, I stood him up. Like, that was good.
Yeah, because she's always the manipulative one.
And that informed me on her character, because it's a nice thing. But the rest of it was like, you are telling me. That was informing me. I think there is a difference.
No,
I don't know why. I think it's just because it was a playful thing. Well, I know the other one's being playful, but it is so thuddingly like, she's from the show, so you should care now. I'm like, okay. Same with the samurai, same with the cop was fine, because the cop makes perfect sense.
He's got to come in.
And they're like, oh crap, it's the Japanese police. We know who it is. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's a half oh crap and half like, oh, it's finally coming together.
I loved when they set the money on fire so they could smoke out the entire place, and then that gave the others the indication of like, now we can participate in the plot. That's the signal. It was genuinely clever. How do you feel about Lupin being suave and sophisticated and more like adept in this version? As you were saying, it is a bit different. Like, we do have he succeeds because he bumbles his way through in this, but also we do have he genuinely succeeds because he is just that good.
I'm fine with it. I'm not like super in love with the Lupin III franchise, so it was a little bit jarring, like, oh, this is different, but also for the story that they're telling here, like, it matched.
Mm-hmm. And how did you feel about the animation overall? Were there any things that you liked about it, things that you enjoyed, or just artifacts of its time that took your fancy? Because, as mentioned, this is a real 70s affair.
No, yeah, it was very smooth animation. I really enjoyed it. It's all the vehicle stuff like you were talking about before, just it seeing so riding the line between feeling like a real life vehicle and like a toy. Just very, very magical feeling there. The character designs are a lot of fun. Like, obviously the 5 main characters look like the 5 main characters, just like Miyazaki-ified.
And blonde, one of them.
And hair color changed. But also you get like the character designs of the characters unique to this film, like reflecting how they do it in the show, where it's like, oh, the nicer characters look a bit nicer, but then the villains look a bit more scheming, like the villain's butler in this. It's like this
he's a little creature.
Gray little creature guy.
I like that all the assassins felt like they were like creatures from the Black Lagoon or something.
Yeah,
they felt like actual animals rather than people.
The way that they held themselves kind of like gorillas that like walk with their, fists on the ground. They're always hunched over. It was, and they feel very otherworldly and like capable. So it's very fun near the end where I think they were fighting Goemon, the samurai guy, and like he cut their clothes off and you saw like, oh yeah, they're just armored guys underneath. So that's why they seemed quite invincible. Like it felt very clever just to show like, hey, this is what was underneath these very creepy looking, like the black creatures from Pinocchio kind of thing.
Oh yeah. And I felt like they were like frogmen as well. Like there's just something.
It's like not quite simian, not quite amphibian. Yeah.
Does the franchise, from what you've seen of it, do they ever actually just go like full supernatural with anything, or do they always skirt a way around it?
Sometimes they do supernatural, yeah.
Okay, because there is that thing where sometimes you watch, these type of things, and it's like it's not actually like Scooby-Doo. It's not actually ghosts. It's a guy.
Yeah, I obviously I still have only seen the first two parts of the show, Green Jacket, Red Jacket, and these first two films. So I don't know the rest of the franchise, but yeah, there are some episodes where it's like, okay, we're going into, fantastical territory. Like, characters turn to stone at the end. Sometimes also just very silly plots. Like there's a whole episode about like a popcorn-powered rocket ship or something. And episodes about Hitler, of course.
One thing I wanted to just say that was interesting in terms of this is Miyazaki's first film and his most recent film, but I can't say last film because until the man's gone, he's going to make another. That's just how it is. He says he's retired, but he can't trust his son because his son keeps fucking it up. His son's... I'm sorry, I just find it so amusing that he is the quintessential, I have to keep this going, my empire in charge, because my predecessor died of an aneurysm and my son is a fucking idiot.
He's a funny guy. Like, you mentioned before that, he fucking hates this film or something. Mm-hmm. I didn't read too much trivia about this film, but I was reading a little bit about him, and the attitude just seems to be, because of who he is, he will just talk negatively about everything he does. So I assume that if he has anything negative to say about this film, that's just like, par for him, par for the course.
Yeah, par for the course. Yeah, he seems like the happiest guy in the world.
Like if he thinks that, this film's actually okay, like that's like the greatest thing in the world or something.
And if he actually does retire, then that's going to be a big shock. But his more recent film, The Boy and the Heron, the guards in that, which are parakeets that are like royal guards, because that film has bird creatures, they were almost identical to the royal guards in this movie. Like they look so similar, obviously with the more 70s aesthetic here in comparison to like more 2010s fluid animation, like sheen to it. But I was just taken aback where I was like, wow, so much has changed, and yet so many things have remained. And I was just having a smile because it's like, you look at this movie and these guards are just function. And in the Boy and the Heron, they're like comedic fodder. These parakeet guard creatures are they're sinister as fuck, but they're also hilarious. And it's like, aesthetically, there's a lot of similarities between them. And I was just having a smirk to myself. I'm just like, this guy, he's been doing it for decades, and just little fascinations with him and his animation group, and like, I like this.
If you get around to watching that second episode I gave you, there is a thing in that episode that is straight up something that appears in one of his upcoming films after that episode came out.
Oh,
not the immediate one, but
it's Totoro, everyone.
There's like a design like, oh, you just use that again.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about with this film? Or with Miyazaki? I've been talking a lot about Miyazaki.
I'm not too sure. Was there anything else that Nick wanted to hear about?
He mentioned that he finds the process of how much they hide the budgetary constraints fascinating with this movie, because there is obviously budgetary constraints. There's like tricks of the trade to cut across like the cheap animation at points, and how much of that do we find endearing and charming because it's Lupin and it's Miyazaki. Like there are several points where you can just tell like, we just can't draw them with features in this. Let's just light them as a silhouette. And I find it charming. I find it endearing in this movie. I didn't really take notice of it, but when you do compare and contrast it to his other films, even the one after this, the level of like lines and illustration, like sharpness and detailing is far less in this than what you would see in something like a Totoro or like a Ponyo. And I think that's just good to see, because sometimes, as we were talking about last week with Pata Panchali, where it's just like, oh, this is a first-time filmmaker, but it feels like they've been at it for decades, and it feels like this is just like masterful stuff. That can be great too, but I actually don't mind going back to the early parts of a filmmaker and seeing we're not quite there yet, but we will be. And that's how I look at this movie, where it's like, we're not quite there, but we will be. I mean, the film we did after this, it was Nausicaa?
Oh, he did after this?
Yeah.
Nausicaa, The Valley of the
Nausicaa
Wind.
and the Wind. That's probably one of my favorites of his movies. I still really like that one.
Of the four that I've seen, it might be a toss-up between that one and Castle in the Sky. I don't know.
Castle in the Sky is great. Yeah, I like
but this
that
one's
one.
also really
I like
good.
that one because it has the right level of like whimsy and melancholy that I like. In terms of like how much it's covering for itself in its like limitations, I think it just knows it's so stylized. It can just do anything it wants. Like I don't know what the rule of thumb is, but I feel like we lack this now of identifiable characters from silhouettes and profile. When you look at the characters in this, especially Lupin, you could see them standing in a profile and you're like, yep, that's Lupin. That's Lupin. Got it. That's so identifiable. And same with his friend, and same with the cop, and same with so many of them. Like when you see like the cop from behind, he's so triangular. I'm like, yeah, that's him. You know, like he's got his hands in his jacket, and there's just something so identifiable about this, and like you feel like, oh, I could draw that. You know, as a kid, there's something special about cartoons where they have almost this idea of like the kids can try and draw this at home.
Yeah, and Japan still has a couple of franchises they can do that with. Like they still release a lot of like Doraemon, Crayon Shin-chan, Detective Conan. I guess Lupin is still technically ongoing. There's Pokemon, especially
of course.
The more earlier generation stuff. Like they still have things coming out. Like some of those franchises I listed have like a film every year.
Oh yes. But there is something, or even costumes. Like you mentioned that he has different colored jackets, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
But he has that jacket and the cut, the tie with the square end.
That's also another thing about this film, because part one is the green jacket one. So it's like, oh, Miyazaki's come back and he's using the green jacket again, the one that he defined, basically.
Which do you prefer in terms of just aesthetic?
I think red is just such a vibrant color. I kind of gravitate towards it, but there is something about the green jacket that looks good.
I like the green jacket with the yellow tie.
If I were to continue Lupin, I'd be watching part 3, which is Pink Jacket.
Oh.
It's the 80s one.
Is it any good?
I don't know. I've heard that it's goofy.
Oh, really?
Extra goofy in a way.
Just to talk about the show briefly, the part 2 poster that they have on IMDb, where it's each character and they're kind of in a colored square, like green, blue, red, whatever, and it's basically is that what Ghost in the is that what Cowboy Bebop's referencing? Because Cowboy Bebop has like the similar poster.
Is that in the OP? The square thing?
I can't remember if it was in the OP for either or, but just in terms of just their general poster, like when you look up either show, you're like, oh, you'll see the poster, and it's like it's the same aesthetic, and I'm like, is one referencing the other, or is it just happenstance, or are they referencing a previous thing that's big in Japan where that was a visual cue? Because that happens a lot too, like everything references something or other. But I just wanted to say that in terms of just the show. I was looking up the show, looking up those episodes, and I just saw that poster, and I was like, oh, that's like the Cowboy Bebop one, but with the Lupin guys in there. And I'm like, well, I guess the Cowboy Bebop one is like the Lupin one.
It's not the origin, at least.
Yeah. It was just something that leapt out. But a final thing I'm going to say about this is I thought the villain was fine. He was fine. He wasn't amazing or anything. But Miyazaki villains rarely are for me. Like, they're rarely the interesting parts of his movies, honestly. They're usually just okay. There's not ones that like I go, oh, the villain in this, and oftentimes the villain kind of turns around in some way. Not in this one. This one he can eat shit and die, but I was like,
they felt very true to Lupin. The villains are usually not redeemable.
No.
Yeah, he was fine. I do like that in this film. It takes a while for him not to react to the events of the film with a smug sort of like, yep, this is still fine. Like when you do have like the 2 or 3 big moments where Lupin really gets one over him and he starts panicking, I did feel that.
I liked him getting extra cocky, and you just know that Lupin's going to make him slip on a banana peel, basically.
Yeah. Getting extra cocky when your main character of the film you're in is Lupin III.
The villain exists in like a grounded, gritty palace intrigue drama, and he doesn't know that he is going to be ruffled and foiled by a Looney Tunes character. Like, that's the dynamic.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. Like, it really is just like, this guy's existing like a period piece drama where it's like palace intrigue, like royal families and this and this and this.
And his lineage is a big thing.
His lineage is a big thing, and he's also got like politics happening where he's got people in his pocket because of the money laundering.
He's got a menacing looking goat motif.
Yeah, but also he has like a little creature butler. But then he has to encounter a guy who, if he opened up his jacket and he pulled out a gun with a barrel that just keeps going because it's so long, it wouldn't be unrealistic for that character.
I was reading a trivia point that Miyazaki was talking about this villain character, the Count Cagliostro, and he said that, this character is absolutely gay, but I didn't incorporate any elements of that into the film, so it wasn't an element.
A real J.K. Rowling.
And I was thinking J.K. Rowling, see, this is how you do it. You just admit that you didn't do anything with it. One more thing about the Looney Tunes thing. It is a lot of fun that Lupin just, has all of these means available to him that you never see coming, and like he always gets one over on everyone. I did like that there was a moment in the film where like the veil was kind of stolen a little bit, where it was when Lupin gets shot down and the Count's like, give me the ring and I'll spare him. Fujiko, who, as she explained in the exposition, has a history with him and knows him, revealed one little like trick of his, like, he usually hides things behind the collar. And, that revelation, like, a penetration of his bag of tricks, like, is something that wasn't accounted for.
Yeah.
It was a nice little moment.
Yeah, it was a good moment. The violence was also a nice little surprise. I don't know how violent the show gets, but blood was here, or like the image of blood at least, and people get shot. People die in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it was neat to see because it still has that kidsy, go lucky fun, but then sudden moments of violence, and it's treated seriously, but then it also isn't, because then you eat a lot of food and you're fine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of adventure things that came out after this film owe a lot of credit to the fact that this film had a climax set in a clock tower, because there's just so many things you can do in a clock tower with the gears. Like, I think every Castlevania owes a lot of, gratitude towards this film. There's always a clock tower level. Uncharted games, I know definitely there's one or two where you're climbing up a clock tower and you got to wait for the gears to be at the right spot to jump to the next
It's either
part.
a clock tower or bell tower. One of the two. You got to have either Hunchback of Notre Dame action or Lupin action. So I loved it. I it's not my favorite. I would watch it again. It's nice. The version of this film I want is more of the vibe movie that it starts out as.
Yeah.
Less
more
so. Yes, exactly. One of my favorite moments was when we got to see his eye.
Yeah. The show, whenever they do it, he's always, when he's like surprised and he's got like the small round eyes.
Yeah, they did that here. Just the one eye that we got to see, but it was nice, and he was surprised. And
yeah, it's the kind of eyes you would see where, like, big explosion happens, the screen goes black, but just the eyes appear and they blink.
You and I have talked about this off mic, but would you at least like to talk about the trivia of that actor and his role in terms of the Lupin franchise?
Oh, sure. What was his name? Kiyoshi Kobayakawa, if I'm getting it right? Kobayashi. Kiyoshi Kobayashi. Yes, so a bit more history about Lupin. The first thing that came out of the franchise was I think there were 2 pilot episodes.
It was like a 15-minute short.
Was it 15 minutes? It felt much shorter, but okay.
15 minutes, which the actress who does what's her name again in
Fujiko?
this? She was in that.
Yeah. So in this very short pilots that came out in like 1969, a bit before the anime, That's the first thing you ever see of Lupin, and it's just basically a proof of concept kind of thing where you introduce the characters and they do a bit of goofy stuff. If you watch Lupin Part 1, the OP uses a lot of footage from it, so it looks very different. And the voice actors for the most part were different in that, except for him, Kiyoshi Kobayashi. And despite how, from 1969 to, let's say 2020 with thereabouts, the voice actors for all of these 5 main characters have changed over the times.
Some actors died, some retired.
Die or retired, but the one consistency with like one little exception, which was like a, business thing, he's always been the voice of that Jigen character.
That's so amazing. And he retired and handed it off to someone else, and then he died the year after. But he did retire.
Yeah.
He did retire. We've been watching in our own private time Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm.
And Ghost in the Shell has like similar deals with like some actors are always this character no matter what. And their chief, the guy who plays their chief, is always the chief. And I think he only retired from it within the last 4 years. And he's still around voice acting and he's old as hell. It's like, I think he's in his 90s. But he's always been the chief. And it's like, that's great.
Very apt that you bring up Ghost in the Shell, because the actor that he passed Jigen onto do is the Bato voice actor who we've talked about a fair bit on the podcast.
The iconic
Akio Otsuka.
Snake.
Yeah, Snake.
He's Snake in Japan.
The cop from Paprika was a big one for us.
No, I am a big fan. I would recommend this. I do think that there is the remnants of like you need to have seen the show. It's not too big, but there is a little bit of like, if you've seen the show, you'd probably enjoy it, or at least have more of a familiarity with the show. You'd probably vibe with it a bit more. But again, it's not so big, but it is something there. It is a little bit of like when you watch a thing and you just go, I'm sure if I knew the show. Like there's that in your brain, you go,
I think it's fine without having seen the show, but the thing you're bringing up about how your Jigen and Goemon kind of get sidelined is like a nail that's sticking out in this film, because, in the show, they are so much more of a team.
And would you recommend overall?
Oh, yeah. I recommend this film definitely. It's a lot of fun.
Are you going to watch more Ghibli's or Miyazaki's? You've left us all on red with that. Last we knew was
I think I talked
Grave of the Fireflies, right?
Yeah, I think I mentioned at the end of our last episode. Yeah, the newest I've seen is Grave of the Fireflies. The next would be Totoro.
Yeah, I'm just curious because you, in your spare time, you've leaned more towards consuming shows, animes, and shows less so than movies in recent years.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're going the whole scope of things, games is the most.
Well, yes, games. But but you've been watching a lot of shows. Like within the last 2 years, you watched basically most of Gundam.
Yeah, I've recently finished the final TV one.
Which again, Bartek, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
Most people don't get that much much time. So you have to also be like, I know you play a lot of games, but also you do consume a lot of shows.
We had a month and a half break between our Ghost in the Shell sessions, and I think I watched like almost 3 Gundams.
Yeah,
that time.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But I was just curious because it is that thing of like, you mentioned it before, now we're back to Miyazaki. We're here on the podcast doing a Miyazaki, I guess. This is our first Miyazaki on the podcast?
It should be, yeah, because Grave of the Fireflies
is the other guy.
Isao Takahata?
I'll forgive you.
I can't remember if it's a ta or a ra.
But that is Lupin III. And I want to know now, who's recommending the next movie? Is it me?
Well, Ryan, you recommended the last film.
Oh, it's the listening people.
No, Ryan, they recommended this film.
Oh, so that means I guess it has to fall on you.
Isn't it you? No, it is me.
It is you.
It is me. Yay, it's my turn. And I think it's my last recommendation of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe. So you better choose wisely.
I better choose wisely. Well, I think my film's also from the 70s.
Ooh.
Yes.
And it's a Hollywood film.
72, and it is a Hollywood film from a director that I don't think we've covered a film of yet.
Interesting.
It is the 1972 film. There's a lot of words, so I need to get it right.
Please.
Huh?
Please, get it right.
Since you said please, I won't make a mistake.
Please.
It's everything you always wanted to know about sex, but were too afraid to ask.
Okay.
The Woody Allen film.
Yeah. I knew. I mean, I haven't seen this film. I even heard the title, but I could tell by the name. Oh, that's a Woody Allen.
Yes.
That's a Woody Allen movie. Yes, it will be interesting. And 70s Woody Allen is also a different beast. So that'll be interesting to talk about. Which one's the one where he's like the robot?
I have seen this film before.
You liked it.
I do like this film, but he's something in this. I can't remember if he's a robot or if he's like a personification of a medicine or something.
Okay. Well, we will watch this next time. It's all in the description, so don't you worry your pretty heads about this.
I'll get the syntax of the title right.
Oh, we're going to have a fun discussion. We're going to have so many fun discussions. I'm sure that we will totally be not referencing what he's like in real life, but that's fine. I mean, that's part and parcel of auteur directors and actors. It's like, well, sorry, dude. Like, separation of the art and the artist is going to be a bit harder, especially if it's certain people. But we shall be back to talk about a Woody Allen movie. But until then, listening people, thank you so much for listening, of course. And if you have, the ability to, make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcasting site allows you to do so. But if you have any film recommendations, Bartek, what's the best methods and ways that people can do that?
You've got a couple of options to recommend films to us. If you want to recommend or even just contact us about any sort of miscellaneous thing, 3 big ones would be we've got our Twitter account or x.com account, Spit and Polish Presents, the Facebook page, which that one we're pretty active on, also called Spit and Polish Presents. And if you want to send us a direct email, you can do that. The email address, which is written in the description, but I'll say it anyway, is spitandpolished@gmail.com. That's Polish past tense. And we have a YouTube channel where chances are you're listening to this right now on the YouTube channel where we upload every episode. We check all the comments we get. So a lot of our recommendations for Listening People's Choice have come from YouTube comments. So if you want to tell us anything or recommend a film, that is also an avenue. Just make sure you check that your comment goes through, because YouTube gets very weird sometimes. Comments just get deleted. We have a friend of ours in the YouTube comments that comments sometimes, Dr. Rashes. We like getting comments from him a lot. We read all of them, but even they have talked about how, they've tried to comment and they get deleted. It's baffling to us.
And now AI is in charge.
Yeah, so maybe they can fix it.
Perhaps they will fix it. Can please, AI?
Yeah, so if you contact us through the comments, just check a bit later on to make sure the comments are still there, and then we'll get the comment.
Thank you, Bartek, for the explanation, but it's time to go now. It's time to go to get some money. There's always a new caper ahead of us, too.
Yes.
You're the Jiggin, right?
Oh, yeah, I can.
I
got a beard, I guess.
Yeah, and I have the Lupin hair, you said one time.
Lupin.
You said I have...
You've got a bit of a widow's peak
going on. I've got a widow's peak. Yeah. A bit of one. Yes, I do have one. Yes, thank you.
Oi, Lupin. I did steal something, though, Ryan.
What did you steal?
Your heart.